I'm currently in the middle of 25 series. 19 of those I have the possibility of continuing right now, and then 6 of them I'm waiting for the next book to come out in order to continue. Of those 19 series, this week I'm going to finish 3. I have 3 books in front of me that actually complete 3 of those 19 series. They're the conclusions to their own individual series. Welcome to my journey, trying to finish all of the series that I'm in the middle of. It's a continuous and ongoing and arduous journey and a labor of love. Here are these 3 books, and let's go over each of them, what they're about, why I picked them, that kind of stuff. The first book we're going to be picking up, and one that I've actually started this morning, is Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. It's the 3rd book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. I'm only like 30 pages in. I started listening to the audiobook a little bit this morning while I was getting ready. My goal is to immersion read it, so listen to the audiobook and follow along in the physical book at the same time, but I just wanted to get through the intro and like the first few chapters while I was getting ready this morning, and I'm going to do a little bit more of that while I cook my breakfast. I don't have much going on after my midterm today at like 3, so I'm hoping to just like sit and binge this tonight, because that's how I read the first book, that's how I read the second book. So far, I really like this one. From what I can grasp, we're following a motorcycle performer named Rose in the circus that she kind of travels around with. She gets injured, ends up in Dr. Fiona Kane's care. They're like in a small town in Nebraska, and I think he's tasked with taking care of her. I've only gotten to the part in which she gets injured and is in the hospital, so we haven't gotten to the taking care of her part yet, but I think that's where this is going. My other 2 options for this video, the first one is the second book in a duet. The first book I read, I think, in January, but that is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the second book in the Crimson Moth duet, the first one being Heartless Hunter, and the second one obviously being this one, Rebel Witch. A story about a witch and a witch hunter, and they end up having to like team up while they're hunting each other. I haven't really heard anything about it, so my expectations are nowhere. I have no expectations, which I feel like is kind of the best way to go into a sequel. And then my last option is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Vicious duet, I believe is what it's called. The first book being Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I read it a long time ago. I've been meaning to get to this forever, and I finally am kind of in the mood for it. I might need to watch some recap TikToks to like remember the plot of the first book. These are the 3 series we're going to be continuing today. Let's get into it. Obviously starting with Scythe and Sparrow. It's kind of way brighter than I thought it was going to be when I sat here. I wanted to give you an update on Scythe and Sparrow. Halfway through, maybe a little bit less than halfway through, I have some thoughts, some updates, some opinions. I'm really liking it so far. It's definitely not a 5-star as of right now, whereas like Butcher and Blackbird, I immediately knew that it was going to be a new favorite. It's dark and it's funny, and it really does capture that perfect dark rom-com. I'm not really attached to the characters as much. I really like Fiona. I really like him. He's our main male character. I'm not as much of a fan of Rose. I think probably the main thing I could say is maybe it's just the audiobook narrator. This is the first one of the trilogy that I'm listening to on audio. I think it might be partially the narrator and then partially some of her characterization. She just like feels a little bit flat, feels a little bit distant to me for some reason. I think it's maybe because we know less about her past. I really like how Fiona as a main character is like really into crocheting. I think it's really funny and kind of gives like a very good juxtaposition between the very dark elements of the book, our main character, and both of our serial killers and like bad people are crocheters, and they like are in a crochet club with a bunch of old ladies, and I thought that was like really goofy and funny. She just got into the first smut and spice scene, and it's about at 50% of the way through the book. Like I just finished reading that chapter, and I wish that this one was a little bit more of a slow burn, because in the other books and the other POVs from the other characters in the series, it really seemed like Rose was pretty closed off, and so was Fiona, and they were like having a hard time connecting, and it was going to be a really big slow burn, but it really hasn't been. It's kind of been very insta lust, at least. It's clear that they have feelings for each other, because they started out really as friends, aren't confessing their love. They just like are very quick on acting on that intimate side, and I kind of wish we just had a little bit more of a slow burn, a build up to that. We understand that our main female character is like kind of a serial killer, but we haven't really gotten into that aspect yet. As we're halfway through the book, she really hasn't put any moves on people specifically. I guess there's been like 2 people, but like She hasn't really made it a large part of her personality. One thing I do really like about this, though, is they all just have a lot of hobbies, and they're very big hobby people, and that is featured severely in this book. Just got done with my last midterm before spring break. I'm back at my apartment before I have to go to work, and I basically have just like 3 hours of uninterrupted reading time that I can have because I really don't have many other obligations other than my shift tonight. And I'm hoping to finish it because this first half has gone really quick, and I think the second half, as we pick up on the action and the romance, will go like even quicker. I'm excited to see where we go from here. My hair probably looks like crazy and insane. Hello, good morning. Today is the next day. I am happy to report that this morning I read the final pages of Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. We are done with the first book of this video. I'm gonna wait to tell you ratings at the end of this video, but I know for sure that it's not a 5-star. I think the relationship in this one was paced a little bit weirdly for me. The smut in the spicy scenes came pretty early, but then we had a large portion of time in which they like stopped, and I'm pretty sure they didn't kiss until like 300 pages into the book, maybe. Just like the pacing of the relationship was a little bit weird to me, but not in a way that it was like unenjoyable. It didn't grip me the same way that Butcher and Blackbird did. One thing I will say about that though is the quote unquote third act breakup, which there wasn't really much of one. I think that it was handled really well, and I really liked that kind of third act conflict. One thing about that is how much Fiona and Cain grovel. I just like knocked the camera really bad, so if the angle moved, I'm so sorry, but the groveling, like I said, top 10 grovels I've ever read in a book ever. Like, he just did it so good. The letters, you know the letters and the tarot cards, wow. I just really support a man who can get on his knees for a woman, beg and plead, and realize he did something wrong. What does that say about me? I don't know. The ending of the book was probably the strongest point for me, whereas like the build up for me wasn't as strong of a plot point. I feel like we didn't really hit any of the plot and the action until like the last 100 pages, and this is almost a 400-page book, so I feel like we could have spread it out. Like in Butcher and Blackbird, not to compare the two books, constantly had predicaments in which our characters were getting into situations. They're both serial killers, so they would get into like dangerous situations constantly through the action of the entire book while the romance was ensuing. And I think that was something that was so magical about Butcher and Blackbird, was the dual timeline plot of the action and the romance and how it seamlessly fit together. And while we were getting these really intense action moments, we also would get like a little flirty banter in the midst of their serial killing game. But this, it was like all romance and then all action and then all romance at the end. It felt a little bit more segmented. Brynne Weaver has a little note in the beginning of this book that says that if you don't like epilogues, make an exception for this one and read the epilogue. And I agree with her. It's definitely something you need to read if you liked the series even a little bit. And if you don't want to know kind of the contents of the epilogue, I would maybe skip ahead 30 seconds. But in this epilogue, we got a teaser for what the next book or who the next book's probably going to be about. And it's not going to be a part of this series, but it is like kind of interconnected in a way, like a character from this world. I'm really excited for the next book and to kind of see where it goes. And I would love to see a little bit of something different from Brynne Weaver. Like, we've gotten 3 kind of serial killing style romances, but I would love to see something different with this next character, with this next plot, kind of stepping out of the comfort zone, but still keeping that dark romantic comedy feel. I'm going to move on to the next book, which at this point in my life, I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm about to leave. I get on a plane tomorrow to go to spring break, and so I'm going to be taking a break from this video and reading like some spring break summary reads, and then when I come back I'm going to pick up the other 2 books for this finishing series situation. For now, we are done with the first book and we finished one whole series forever and ever. The series will never continue. It is a trilogy, and the trilogy is over. On to future Reagan with whatever that next book is gonna be in whatever time that may be. I never ever read with the dust jacket on, so I always have to put it like back on before I film any clips. We are continuing on series by picking up the next book, which is Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I started this earlier today. It's like 10 p.m., so not too late, but like a little bit past my bedtime. I'm almost on page 100. I'm on page 92. This is the second book in the Crimson Moth duet. The first book was Heartless Hunter. I read that, I want to say, in like January, maybe February. I'm not going to tell you the plot of the second book because I don't want to spoil it. But the first book follows Rune, who is a witch, and Gideon, who is a witch hunter. Rune, she's like this witch vigilante who goes after the witch hunters and kind of saves the witches from the witch hunters. And then Gideon is one of the most well-known witch hunters, most successful witch hunters, and he is obsessed with killing the Crimson Moth, whose identity is a secret, but as the reader, we know it's our girl Rune. That's kind of what the first book is about, and this second book picks up exactly where we left off, which was very helpful. It also kind of recapped a few things for me that I had maybe forgotten detail-wise. I am like more hooked than I was in the first book. I'm really, really attached. It's going by super quickly. I feel like I could definitely get like halfway through tonight if I really put my heart into it. Some things I'm liking about this book is we're kind of seeing the characters interact more than we did in the first book. In this book, like, it's very not clear who's in the right and who's in the wrong, and like in a way neither of them in the right and neither of them are in the wrong. They both have their own motives for what they do and what side they're on politically in this world. It's very action packed so far, which I'm enjoying. Like, there's constant action, constant go 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 moments in this book. Our main character knows her plan, but we don't know her plan, and so then she's like, I have a plan, and you're like, what plan? We didn't kind of hear about any planning going on. It kind of like skips past the boring part. We just like are thrust into the plan and shown that she had this plan all along. Honestly, this is like one of the most fragile camera setups I have ever executed in my entire life. So I'm officially on page 230, almost exactly halfway through this book. I'm quite clearly laying in bed and reading. As I am doing so, I have figured out that this book is literally the exact definition of no thoughts, just vibes, because I really don't have anything to update you on. There's nothing going through my head pretty much at any point while I'm reading this. It's really just like I'm there for the plot, the characters, and the vibes that the book gives. I'm just like along for the ride, and I'm so immersed that nothing is going through my head while doing so. But at the same time, this is not 5 stars in any capacity, but it's just vibes, if that makes sense. Like, I feel no specific attachment to the characters. I have no specific qualms with the writing or the plot or the character development. It's all just like fine, and I'm living for it, but at the same time, like, it's giving nothing, and therefore my brain is giving me nothing as well. I want to try and get like a good decent chunk of the way through the second half tonight, maybe even like finish it. I don't want to put that in the air, but like maybe even finish it potentially. Not a lot of words on the page. The margins are really big. The spaces between the lines are really big. Just like the text is quite large, which makes it good for me because I don't have to put my glasses on while I'm reading, which means I can lay down horizontally, which is one of my favorite ways to read, but it does put me to sleep, and it is like 10 p.m., so it is past my bedtime, so I might need to read in another position or else I might conk out for the night. No thoughts, no critiques. Like, it's good enough for me to not have any critiques, but it's also not giving me anything feelings or emotion wise. So what can I even really say about it? You know what I mean? I look awful because I just rubbed my eye and it looks like someone punched me in the face. I literally just woke up. It's been probably a few days. I got through majority of the book. Let me hold up the book in question actually so you know what I'm talking about. I got through majority of the book in like a 1 to 2 day time span, but I got distracted. I had homework, I had work, I had other things to do. So now we are like 4 days into the book with only 100 pages to go, and I've had about only 100 pages to go for 2 days now. Really only reading like 10 pages a day. I have about an hour and a half, and I'm going to allow myself to read uninterrupted this morning. It's like 7 or 8 a.m. and I don't have class this morning until 11:45, so I give myself the time to read until 9:30, and then I have to lock in and get as much work done as I can within that few hours before class. And I think I can finish it if I actually lock in. I think I can finish this in an hour and a half, and that is our goal. We are going to lock in and finish this freaking book, okay? Right now, I'm really pissed off at the ending. Everything was going great. I was having a great time. I had really no complaints. I was just vibing. And then when we get to the end and we're finding this resolution for this huge, deep-seated issue of prejudice, Gideon gets this burst of hope, starts giving motivational speeches to every other character to try and get them to agree that this plan is good. And this plan is like objectively awful and terrible. And like the low morale, I just like the plan is awful. The plan is so bad. The way we went about getting there, like this needed to be work that was done over months and months and months and not over like the span of a few hours. I don't know. Now I'm kind of getting pissed. We're gonna finish this freaking book today or else somebody hit me over the head. I clipped the microphone onto my elephant because I thought it'd be genius. Okay, that's ridiculous. Bitch, I predicted that. Like, literally exactly. Please, I'm just too good. And also, I think this is like one of the most predictable books I've ever read. Like, the stakes are on the ground. Please, please. I didn't know it was gonna be this cheesy at the end. Like, God. Are we gonna end with an execution? I'm a little confused, not gonna lie, but I'm at that blog, so 3 months later. I'm sorry, that's not a real word. Parliamentarian? Somebody Google that for me. Why is this reminiscent of like Boston Tea Party era? Not the Civil War. What war am I thinking of? The War for Independence in America? Why is this reminiscent of that? Who's gonna tell them they're not original? This whole last 100 pages is reminiscent of that Brittany Broski clip. If I can find it, I'll put it in. But it's so reminiscent of that. Done. I'm done. What are my thoughts on the last 100 pages of the book? It literally was reminiscent of that Brittany Broski clip, first of all. Second of all, I'm glad it's done. Third of all, the first 400 pages were better than the last 100 pages. 100%. I'll come back and give you my more comprehensive thoughts a little bit later. I have to get ready to go to class. But I did finish this 20 minutes earlier than I thought I was going to. We're just gonna have to deal. As it gets like cloudy and sunny and whatever. But the first update, which you have seen already, is that I finished Rebel Witch by Kristen Sigurelli. I finished this yesterday. Everything I've said previously already stands. I just think the ending was like a cop-out. I really didn't like how the author did the ending. The kind of love conquers all mentality for this kind of like highly prejudiced, deeply rooted prejudice book didn't really sell me, and I just thought it was kind of a cop-out. And then like I've heard a bunch of people say that they got to the end and they were like, that's it. And that's kind of how I felt too. That's it. That's all we're gonna do and everything's just happily ever after. Like, I don't believe that. I was really gonna rate it like a 3.5 until the last 100 pages. So that was a little bit disappointing, but it's okay. Checked our second series off the list. Yesterday, after I finished that, I started a new book. I almost hit myself in the face with that. Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Villains Duet by V.E. Schwab. I got the audiobook on Audible because I need to do some stuff and be productive. So I thought an audiobook would be good. I'm on page 140, so I'm probably gonna listen to it while I do some laundry, put away some laundry today, and going pretty fast. I don't really have any thoughts so far. The first book follows Victor Vale and Eli, and they're like two college students who are doing an experiment trying to create extraordinaries. And an extraordinary is when you have like a near-death or death experience and then you have superpowers, and they found this out and now they're trying to replicate it and do it on purpose and create these EOs. And this is the second book, which follows some characters from the first book and then also some new characters. Right now I'm just going to keep listening, doing some productive cleaning things, spring cleaning specifically. I will get back to you when I have more thoughts. I, as you know, have started Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. Page-wise, I'm on page 322, so I'm a little bit over halfway done. I have actually been like flying through this audiobook. It's kind of crazy. I am a little bit confused on the timeline of events, and the reason I say that is because these books, and this is part of the reason why I had trouble with the first one, jump around in timeline a lot. So we'll go from like a week and a half ago to 2 weeks ago to 2 years ago to 3 weeks ago. It just jumps timelines and perspectives constantly. Because it's been a while since I read the first book, I'm kind of confused on I'm not confused on the characters, like I know who everyone is, but some of the times when we flash back to events in the first book, I'm like, wait, was this part of the first book? Like, what happened? What significance did this have to the plot? I probably should have read these books closer together. Other than that, I've just been flying through it. I think I can finish it like maybe even tonight, potentially. If not tonight, definitely tomorrow. I really haven't gotten many clips of me reading this book because I've really been out and about while reading this, like walking to class, doing my laundry, like that kind of stuff. I'm here to update you on complete thoughts in reading for the 3 books I read this week. It's been quite a few days, so I've kind of like collected my general thoughts and my ratings. So the first series I completed this week was the Ruinous Love Trilogy by Brynne Weaver, and I read the conclusion, the 3rd book, which is Scythe and Sparrow. I ended up rating this a 3.5. I then completed the Crimson Moth duology by Kristen Ciccarelli by reading Rebel Witch. I ended up rating this a 2.5. Then I finished the Vicious duology by V.E. Schwab by reading Vengeful, and I ended up rating this at 2 stars. These are the 3 series I finished and completed this week. I feel like it was very productive. 3 brings my series tracker total to like 22 or maybe 20. Thank you so much for watching me finish series this week. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.